Okay guys, so today we have an engineering session focused on the two example builds we'll show you, which were auxiliary battery and healer build. So one moment, I'll post a link to the chat. Here you go. So totally when you open it, let me know.
Will do. I'm not sure if it'll come up on Fraps. I'll give it a go.
I think it should. If it doesn't, I'll put a link in the notes so everyone can follow what we are talking about.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay, so this is essentially a Fleet Avenger auxiliary battery build. So let's start first with the buff layout. As you can see, to use efficiently auxiliary battery build, you can have just one, but two auxiliary battery build skills are very useful. So in engineering and your lieutenant university, you have auxiliary to emergency to weapons, and then auxiliary battery. Below you have a lieutenant commander tactical spot with tactical team, beam fire at will 2, and attack pattern omega 1. Below that you have an instant tactical with tactical team 1. So if you want a more offensive build, more DPS, in that instant tactical you'll put beam fire at will 1. But if you want a defensive build more durable, you'll put instant tactical as I've put it here. So have that in mind. At commanding engineering, there's engineering team, auxiliary battery, EPTS 3, and the direct energy modulation 3. So this commander engineering is very important because of, as you can see, auxiliary battery, and you also have EPTS 3, and there's some discussion whether or not to use engineering team. My opinion, because of the reduced almost global cooldown, when you use tactical team, you can also immediately use engineering team. Just you need to bind your powers correctly. And with TPTS 3, when you cycle auxiliary battery, it's almost.
Is that a bit of an exploit there?
Actually, it's not an exploit, but it almost breaks global cooldown. Especially with auxiliary battery.
So it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, it's a feature. But
can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, the thing with the aux battery as a build is an old build. It's a 3 years old build. But the thing is, it became flavor month with the DOFs.
Yeah, I'll cover that.
Okay.
DOFs later. Yeah.
Yeah.
And below you have lieutenant science with hazard meters and TSS2, which is pretty straightforward. Any questions regarding buff powers?
Where do you get the boss with Oxtabat? I've never even seen one before in game.
You mean the DOFs or the buffs?
Yeah, the skills.
The skills. The skills you get from your skill master at TSD or Konos. It's auxiliary
Or-
to battery
Thanks.
in engineering.
Or
It's-
the hold on a sec, or the
Yeah.
fleet starbase if it is upgraded to tier 5, like the first starbase is,
Yeah.
the KDF will have to wait.
Yeah. Also, direct energy modulation is only capturing power, so you must have engineer officer with 6 points in energy weapon specialization to train that power, or you can buy it from the exchange, but it's this way it's much cheaper. Anything else regarding buff layout? Okay, let's transfer to weapons. So as you can see, Avenger has 5 front and 3 aft weapons. In this auxiliary to battery there's 5 Polaron, Mark 11, accuracy 3. Aft you have 2 Polaron and 1 cutting beam. Also in as you can see, there's a complete simulated set Mark 12. So warp core is essentially the same as the one we talked about last week in the Hadar escort. It's a elite hypercharged from weapons to auxiliary. Any questions regarding weapon choices and space set?
Yeah, what weapons would you use in space for an engineer?
What do you want to do? Offensive, defensive? Do you want
Well,
to
that's
make?
the question, isn't it?
Yeah. You want?
Oh.
If you want an offense, I'll use Polarons in conjunction with Plasmonic Leech, and we'll see also 9 points in the flow capacitors. So maximum damage that way. Yeah, go ahead, Serge.
No, nothing.
Okay. So from engineering consoles, we'll have 2 elite ones, neutroniums with power transfer. Also, there's a simulated motor, plasmonic leech, and in science you have 2 field generators, which is pretty common, and in tactical you have 4 Polaron consoles, which match the weapons. Any questions regarding console choices? Okay. Let's hop on to reputation.
Where'd you get plasmonic leech from? Just put in.
If you're a Fed one, you can get it from the exchange. If you are a KDF, you can get it from the, I think, Vandal Destroyer. I think it is. I think now it's on the exchange for about 10 million last I checked. Okay, let's hop on to reputation. Let's start with New Romulus. As you can see, there's of course with this build you want to go with, let's look at the space ones also. You want to go with critical chance in space combat. That's pretty much straightforward. In tier 4 you can choose whether to use placate or 20% chance to gain instant heal. So if you want to go more defensive, pick secondary shield. You want to confuse your enemy, go with placate, but in this build I have gone with secondary shielding. It's always useful. In Task Force Omega, of course you'll go with Omega weapon training that increases weapons, so that's pretty much straightforward. In Tier 4 you'll get with superior shield repair because Omega Graviton Amplifier is busted and it's useless. Don't ever choose that power. With Nucara Strike Force also get the offensive.
So you wouldn't recommend using an engineer as a tank?
No, of course I would.
No. Depends.
Depends on what's your preferred playstyle. What do you want to do with? Do you want to do damage, or you want to attract firepower from enemy players so your teammates can easily kill them?
Yeah, basically with the thing with the engineers in a cruiser, I know lots of people say that you can only heal in PvP, especially you can only be a healer and that's it. No, that's the truth. Engineers in cruisers will always be a tank, but it depends, like Hershey said, on the playstyle. It depends. Do you want to go tank / DPS or tank / support, and through support either healer or support throughout, as he said, a distraction. You know, you're gonna distract those while your main DPS guys focus on killing them behind.
Yeah, that's right. So you must choose. You can't be everything. This is actually a tech build, but it also works as an engineer. You'll do less damage, but you'll be way more survivable, and in that way you'll stay longer in combat and do more damage than hopefully your tech counterpart. Also, yeah, let's go to Nucara. Oh, Tier 4 Nucara. So this one is way important in this build. As you can see, this build actually amplifies your starship weapon training, energy weapons and projectile weapons equal to 20% of your auxiliary power. So that warp core is essential, that transfers weapon power to auxiliary power. That way you'll essentially amplify your output damage. But if you're an engineer and you want to be a proper tank, you'll get with the defensive one. But if you're an engineer and you also want to tank and do some damage, you'll transfer to the offensive one. So it's essentially a choice between those two. In Dyson Joint Command in space, you'll go with targeting systems, which is pretty good offensive one, and in Tier 4 you'll get tactical advantage. Any questions with regarding reputation choices?
No, I think I got it.
I think I'll just listen to the recording. I was trying to stop tablets.
Okay. Let's hop on to skill tree. Skill tree is also is virtually the same as the last one. The last build we showed you, the tactical one. You have 9 points is flow capacitors, which is important when you have plasmonic leech and polaron weapons. The other kill points are pretty much the same. Okay, let's talk about DOFs, which is way important in this build. So, to this build to work properly and efficiently, you need 3 technicians. Let's say you have unlimited EC or lot of EC, you'll get the purple ones, of course, but if you don't, blue ones also work. So technicians recharge time for all bridge officer abilities is reduced when auxiliary to emergency battery is used. So every time you use a emergency auxiliary to battery, cooldown is reduced. So you put 3 of them and it's 30%. Recharge time is 30% reduced, which is pretty much the pinnacle of this build. Also, as in this build, you'll also put a warp core engineer, but a warp core engineer that has a chance of removing debuffs of any emergency power ability that is used. Because of auxiliary to battery, you'll use your emergency power to weapons or shields tree much more often. When you use it, any debuff on you will go away, so this buff is pretty useful too. And the last buff is you don't need to use it, but if you use it, your weapon power damage would be amplified so much that it's unbelievable. It's almost a feature. That's famous Marrier Francis Dalmor Duff, which greatly reduces weapon subsystem and energy drain for 8 seconds when direct energy modulation is activated. So that's why we have that direct energy modulation tree in Engineer. Also, you have a plus 200 resistance to weapon subsystem energy drain for 8 seconds. So because of this build, your weapon power is drained significantly because of beam fire at will, and also you have 7 beams, so this stuff also helps you with that. It was about 30-40 million, but it's worth every penny. Any questions regarding DOFs?
Also, before you continue, Korishi, I want to mention if you are guys are limited with energy credits, there is also in Betran cluster a DOF mission that once you finish it, gives you blue technicians.
Yeah. So if you're in DOF system and you've done, I think it's 7 missions, isn't it?
Yes, 7.
Yeah. When you finish those, you get blue technicians. But I think technicians are less than a million and a half, something like that. So you can use 2, but I'll go with 3 any day. I think that is it for auxiliary to battery.